We're here with Anatole Kaletsky, who's written a new book, Capitalism 4.0. Here in the aftermath of the crisis, people are looking for what will be the next or the evolutionary process that brings our society back to health. Anatole, thanks for coming and joining us today.
Okay.
Anatole, you've just written a new book, Capitalism 4.0. I don't know what happened to the other three versions, but we certainly had a crisis. What inspired you to write this book?
Well, what inspired me to write it was the crisis, but what I was writing, the content of the book, was try to explain exactly what happened to the previous three versions. That's why it's called Capital 4.0. My argument is that this crisis that we had from 2007 to 9 was possibly, or will be seen with hindsight, as the fourth great crisis of capitalism, comparable to what happened in the 30s, when, as I argue, the first version of capitalism was transmuted into the second New Deal version of capitalism. Then the next crisis was the 1970s, the Great Inflation, which created the market fundamentalism of Thatcher and Reagan. And now, another 40 years later, we have the next crisis, which my argument is going to create the fourth version of capitalism. Now, why this new version is going to be different from either of the other two, I think, is this. If you think about it, the third version of capitalism, market fundamentalism, was a period when the markets were always right and the government was assumed to be always wrong. The version before that, the New Deal, the Keynesianism, was the opposite. The government was the savior from the market, which was always wrong. In my view, what we've discovered in this last crisis is that rather than the market being right and the government being wrong, or the market being wrong and the government being right, both the market and the government can be catastrophically wrong. And so in this new version of capitalism, we recognize the fallibility of both markets and governments. But rather than being very depressing and paralyzing, I argue that actually this recognition of fallibility is quite empowering, because what it leads to is a concept that both markets and governments are capable of improvement, and we need, if you like, a system of checks and balances in which the market keeps the errors of the government under control and the government keeps the errors of the markets under control. Not easy to achieve, but I think that's really the ambition of the next era of the capitalist system.